Thank you very much for being here with us back in the room. Merci d'être de retour. Dernier débat, dernier point important, ce sont l'arrivée massive, bien entendu, vous l'avez vu, de réfugiés. Comment le sport peut-il aider justement à l'intégration de ces réfugiés? Jingle. How sports can accelerate the integrations for the refugees. This is one key problem that we have now. And sport is a big tool, we know that, but how can we use it? Some people have some answers. And it's a pleasure to welcome here one of the head of projects at the International Academy of Sports, Technology and Science. It's Gert Hendricks. Gert will be the moderator and will be explaining you how to use sport as a tool. Gert, welcome. Maybe you can use the desk to start. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. It is indeed a hot topic, integration of migrants. And when you saw the awards yesterday, there was no award for refugees. But there was a lot of projects about refugee-related projects. And I think that was a great thing that it was not a refugee project, because it's not about the refugee, it's about using sport to address some of the refugee and migrant issues. And I shared a picture that I would like to have on the screen as an example. Can we have that on the screen, please? It's not this one, but it's the one with the people praying together. I will explain you why you might have seen us up on stage before yesterday when we went to the refugee camp where we met with athletes who were training to prepare for the Olympic Games. And I met with an amazing athlete who went to the training camp. He did not go to Rio, but he told me one thing. He said, sport taught me many things, and that's indeed the picture that I'm talking about. It wasn't just the running, the interactions made things easier. I was very close with another athlete who is of another religion. We slept in one room, we ate together, he wore my clothes and I his. Sport brought us together, and this is a picture in the training camp of the athletes who were praying together, Muslims and Christians, taking turns at the beginning of every training session. So that was a clear example that spoke very much to me, and I have the pleasure to lead this session today, which is the last session of the forum, actually. And as a first speaker, I would like to ask to come forward Mr. Alex Buis, who I know very well from having spent a few days with him in the refugee camp in Kenya. Mr. Alex Buis, please.
I leave you.
Thank you, Gerd. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a great honor for me to be here, and I have to say something I wouldn't have expected even a year ago. You see, I usually photograph completely different subjects. I usually do climbing expeditions, adventure sports. But last winter, my fiancée Erin, who you got to meet yesterday, who's an ex-UNHCR employee, heard about plans for a refugee Olympic team. And we decided it would be a really important story to try and cover together. Things moved really quickly, and before I knew it, I was headed for the world's largest refugee camp, Dadaab, at the Kenya-Somalia border, home to up to 500,000 people. I remember on a tiny airplane from Nairobi, just realizing I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I didn't even know what a refugee camp looked like. Where did people live? Was it in tents, in concrete buildings? Where did they eat? Did they work? What did they even do all day? What did they dream of? What were they hoping for? And it was really disconcerting, especially with the Syrian civil war now going on. Refugees are in the news almost every single day, and yet we know next to nothing about them. All we ever hear is how they drown in the Mediterranean, how they're unwelcome everywhere they go, and how some or many are potential terrorists. Now, with this Olympic team, there was suddenly a very brief opportunity to tell a very positive story and to show them as just people, brave, talented, resilient people. So in that spirit, I just want to share with you today some of the experience that I had traveling to Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps in Kenya. meeting the friends and the families of the athletes who went to Rio, and what sport meant to them. So one of the people who I think we will all remember for the longest time is Kolo Kuni. He's from Ethiopia, and he was a long-distance runner before becoming a refugee. When he fled the war, the only thing he took with him was his 10 gold medals, which he showed us proudly. He finished first in the Dudab trials for the initial selection of the team, and he had a really good shot of actually going to Rio. But he was also supporting his whole extended family of over a dozen people in the camp, and with him come to train in Nairobi, they found themselves without any resources. So he was faced with the most cruel of choices, and he ended up picking his family. He quit training and returned to the camps. When we met him a few weeks later, he was not bitter. It was just the way things went. And he was actually quite happy because he had just found a job doing what he loved, which was training kids in track and field for Save the Children. We got to attend one of the training sessions, and I have to say it was amazing to see how much joy it brought to everybody involved. We also found that football is, at least in that part of the world, central to many, many refugee lives. We attended a match in Hagadera, one of the 5 subcamps of the DAB, and we were amazed to learn that in the self-organized junior league, which is only one of 3 tiers in that particular subcamp, there were no less than 96 different teams. And it was also quite surreal to have a South Sudanese refugee know more about my home team of Olympique Lyonnais than I did. And above all, we found that sport brought people together. There was a women's volleyball team we got to see play, and they reflected exactly the diversity found in the DAB. They were of all ethnicities, religions and tribes, just playing together and overcoming differences that in other circumstances would have caused them to would have caused division. Of course, what the world saw was refugees competing on the larger stage in Rio. But for this to have any meaning, context is needed. All you see is a handful of athletes with the same clothes and equipment as everybody else, not doing particularly well, not coming close to winning any medals. But add the story of how Yusra Mardini from Syria, for instance, swam her sinking boat in the Mediterranean, or show the place where Polo Amotun, who ran the 1,500 meters, grew up in Kakuma refugee camp. And all of a sudden, you realize that this is indeed a formidable event. And there couldn't have been a better example of the transformative power of sport than Angelina Lohalit, who ran the 1,500 meters as well. When we first met her in May, she was this shy, guarded girl who I could scarcely get to smile for taking her portrait. Not long ago, she was herding cattle and living with her aunt, who was one of the few surviving relatives from the war in South Sudan. And but when in Rio, and even more so when we came back to Kenya 3 weeks ago, we were absolutely amazed to find a strong, beaming, confident woman who had just been to Canada to speak about her experiences, who was about to attend university to study engineering, and who was eagerly training for Tokyo 2020. We are truly honored today to call her a friend. The most moving moment for me in this whole project was not them competing in Rio. It was not even the opening ceremony and seeing them carry the Olympic flag. It came a lot earlier in May in Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi during the International Olympic Trials. As I was standing on the track, photographing those people, those extraordinary people who were giving it all they had, I realized that they were literally running for a better life, and not only for themselves, but for their whole community. Thank you very much.
It's open. It's open. Go for it.
Thank you very much, Alex, indeed, for your insightful presentation. And can I just ask you a question? Of all the people here in the room, you're probably the best person to ask, because I went with you to the camp. We saw the athletes in Rio performing, but you went back to the refugee camp to meet again with all the athletes that trained and that competed at the Olympic Games. Can you tell us a little bit how they are doing right now when you saw them last time?
So, yes, we were there 3 weeks ago, and we got to meet all 5 South Sudanese athletes who went to Rio, and it was really heartwarming to see how amazing they're doing. They are all about to go back to school. they're all training for the World Championships, and some of them even for Tokyo 2020. They have gone back to Kakuma just a few days to see their families, and now they're all back in Nairobi training. So I think from all points of view, it was really a great success story.
Excellent, thank you very much. Before I call on the panelists for our further discussion, I would like to ask you one thing, because I was reflecting yesterday. Am I happy that I'm here at the forum? Do I want to be here? And this is not an offense to the organizers, because I think it was a great opportunity. It's a great networking opportunity. We celebrated a lot of good initiatives. But what is next? What are we going to do? If I go back and I meet again with my friends and I show them that we have an award, what sort of impact is it going to have on their personal life, on their role in the camp? And I found out that there's this call to action in your booklet that is exactly what I would like you to ask now to have a look at, and during or after the session to use it. There is one thing, I'm sure every one of you can think of one thing they can do to concretely help the issue of migrants, the issue of sport and refugees moving forward. You can all, within your circle of influence, as a person or as an organization, make a pledge, make a commitment to help going further. And wouldn't it be great that we somehow leverage the momentum that we have here with so many different organizations, with so much power and influence in the room, so many great ideas, that we walk away, or that the organizers walk away with a set of pledges, a set of concrete calls to action that, and this is just a suggestion, on the 6th of April, International Day of Sport for Peace and Development, we can come back, or Peace and Sport can come back and say, following the forum that we had in November 2016, here are some of the concrete things that were done. So I just want to make a call for you to think about what is the concrete thing that you can do to just have an impact on the people you work with and the people that need our help. And I can give you an example. It doesn't have to be financial. I represent an educational institute. We were able, together with the university, to provide an internship to one of the speakers, one of the athletes. So there are specific things, are small things. So please do write it down here on the slip that you have and put it on the olive tree that is out there to collect some ideas, some concrete takeaways of this session. That was just my little introduction to ask the panelists to come up, and I have to apologize that there have been a fair number of changes at the last minute. So the people that you see in your brochure are not necessarily the ones that you will see on stage. But I would like to ask on stage the people that will be leading our panel debates, Mr. Lionel Zeller, Mr. Lolo Dek, Mario Pescante, Mr. Tarek Alzar. Good morning, all of you. Thank you for being here. And each of the panelists will show or share some of their experience in specific areas in the field of sport for peace building with us. And without any further ado, I would like to start with Mr. Lionel Zetter, who is the director of the European Azerbaijan Society, who also had numerous of very senior roles in the public relations sector and was voted Personality of the Year in 2008. Would you be able to share with us some of your insights, Mr. Zeller, about the role of sport and peace in Azerbaijan?
Absolutely. Thank you, Geert, for that introduction, and thank you, Alex, for your very moving presentation. I bring apologies from my chairman, Mr. Talehedov. He was due to be here today, but unfortunately has been unavoidably detained. The recent enormous wave of immigration into Europe as a result of the conflicts in Syria and Iraq has presented a real challenge to Europe in particular on how to help these migrants and at the same time secure their own security. This is a situation which is well known to Azerbaijan, the country which I represent. We have been dealing with nearly 1 million refugees for 25 years now. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, our neighbors, Armenia, took advantage of the chaos to invade Azerbaijan and occupy 20% of the territory. Unfortunately, they're still there, despite 4 UN Security Council resolutions asking them nicely to withdraw. But as a result, 1 in 9 of the people who currently live in Azerbaijan are either refugees or IDPs, and that presents enormous challenges to them and to the nation. Now, we're meeting today to discuss concrete examples of how sport can be an integration catalyst for refugees and for internally displaced persons. I can provide, I hope, illustrations from 3 points of view. Firstly, I will briefly outline what the Azerbaijani government has been doing since 1994 to tackle this problem. Then I will describe to you what TEAS, my own organization, the European Azerbaijan Society, is doing to help in that situation. And lastly, I will provide specific examples of how athletes and champions in Azerbaijan have come from a refugee and IDP background. Now, the Ministry of Youth and Sport in Azerbaijan was established in 1994, shortly after the ceasefire with Armenia. The ministry was born as a result of the perceived need to find some means for the refugees and IDPs, and especially the young people who constituted 30% of that community, to give them a purpose and an outlet in life. So sport was used as a means to improve their integration and alleviate their suffering. The president of Azerbaijan, His Excellency Ilham Aliyev, has himself chaired the National Olympic Committee since 1997, which shows the importance which he himself attaches to sport. As a result of his efforts, Azerbaijan hosted the first ever European Games under the auspices of the International Olympic Committee last year. And this year, Formula One Grand Prix came to Baku with a city race very similar to the one which is so well established here in Monaco. Numerous other sporting events have been held in Azerbaijan and will be held in the years to come. Now, as an illustration of the healing potential of sports, even as Armenians and Azerbaijanis were shooting at each other on the front line of the conflict, an Armenian team competed in the European Games without any problems, any unfortunate incidents, or any negative effects, which shows how sport can even transcend an ongoing conflict. In Azerbaijan, in order to improve the living conditions of the refugees and IDPs, the government has built 94 new settlements with their own schools and hospitals, and also 2 Olympic complexes and 14 sports centers specifically dedicated to those communities. Speaking for a moment about ourselves, about TEAS, we now have offices in London, Brussels, Strasbourg, Berlin, Paris, Istanbul, and of course, Baku. And the scope of our activities has increased enormously. We have educational projects, including those which deal with refugees and IDPs. And we constantly raise awareness about the Armenian-Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, with a view to helping to form a peaceful settlement to that crisis. We've also been lucky enough to secure the support of such great sportsmen as former world heavyweight boxing champion Frank Bruno, former England football captain Tony Adams, and the great athletics legend Mo Farah. In recent years, TEAS has organized a number of sporting events to draw attention to the plight of refugees and IDPs. And a couple of years ago, we organized a match between the Arsenal legends and an IDP team. We also involved charity boxing matches between the world-famous Repton Boxing Club and our chairman's own boxing team, Gabala. And during Her Majesty the Queen's 90th birthday celebrations, we brought 13 Karabakh horses to take part in the ceremony. There are many examples of how athletes from a refugee and IDP background have succeeded in Azerbaijan. The most famous example is perhaps the Karabakh football team, which used to be based in Agdam. As this town is now under occupation and in ruins, the Karabakh team has to play its football in Baku, and they are the world's only professional refugee football team. They've recently played in France, in the city of Saint-Étienne, and here in Monaco in the Europa League. I will conclude by mentioning 3 IDP sportsmen who we're very proud of. Natik Izarov is a wrestler. He was born in Fuseli in 1970. He became champion of Europe in 1993 and won a bronze medal in the World Championship in 1990. He also represented Azerbaijan in the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000. We also have Ceyhun Mamedov. He was born in Agdam in 1968, and he is currently president of the Sambo Federation. He has been world champion of Sambo on no fewer than 7 occasions. Finally, there is Ilham Zakayev. He was blinded when he was shot through the head by a sniper on the front line whilst performing his national service in 1999. He was only 19 years old at the time and was in despair about his future, but sport gave him a way back into life. And in 2000, he won the Paralympic gold in judo in the Beijing Olympics, and he's still competing today. So, sadly, war has the capacity to swallow up the younger generation who would otherwise succeed in sport. With the help of organizations such as Peace and Sports, that is less likely to happen. Today, TEAS has the honor to partner with Peace and Sports and to support the campaign One Step for Peace. That campaign perfectly illustrates the role which non-governmental organizations can play in helping to facilitate the small, incremental steps which ultimately lead to the achievement of long-term objectives. We are extremely honored to participate in a scheme which is run by somebody of Joël Bouzou's stature and which has the high patronage of His Serene Highness, Prince Albert II. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Leonard Zetter. It's fascinating also to see, and we haven't spoken much about it, how also disabled athletes can have a very crucial role in integrating migrants in there. We are rather tight on schedule, so I suggest we proceed with the next speaker, and we have some time afterwards to take the questions. And our next speaker is Monsieur Yves Lelostek, who has worked for the European Commission, if I'm not mistaken, since 1993 in a variety of roles. And with the migrant issue being a very hot topic right now in Europe, he would like to share some of his insights in how the European Commission is involved. So, Yves, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. De facto, yes, I have been working in different positions in the European Commission for a number of years, but I will go directly to the point maybe, and basically my intention here was to make a general remark and to give you 2 informations. My general remark, and we can go to the first slide. I know PowerPoint is not necessarily adapted to this sort of panel, but okay, it will go fast. My general remark is just about answering a question: what does the EU has to do with this topic, sport and migrants, or sport and refugees? The answer is that just we have now a mandate and a legitimacy to do so, because now there is an article in the treaty giving the EU a competence in the field of sport. And it's not a hard competence, so we are not here to rule or to regulate. We are here to help and to support where we can. And this has a direct influence on precisely the topic we are discussing today, because the EU and the European Commission have become actors, possible actors, potential actors in helping and in promoting sport with refugees or with migrants in more general terms. So we can switch to the second slide, which is boring because it's a legal one, but let's go to the third one. And there I come to the 2 informations I wanted to give. So I was saying that the EU can be an interlocutor. And now my information is how, because it's not just about speaking and making statements about the potential of sport to integrate migrants and refugees, but how can we do concretely? And we have two tools in order to help. One is our major program, Erasmus+. Erasmus is known as a program of exchange of students, but now it's much more. And since 2014, there is a part concerning sport. You have here on the slides a couple of information. On sport, what we know is just 2 or 3 things. First, that the budget is increasing very regularly, so there are more and more possibilities. Secondly, that we are in the capacity of supporting projects covering different areas: good governance, doping, match fixing, gender equality, dual career, and so on. And one of them is social inclusion in the broad terms. And the third information is that projects by nature must be transnational projects, I would say. We cannot finance just national projects. And for those who can be interested, there are information about the deadlines for the next call. And we can go to the next slide, just to show you that during the 3 last years, there have been some evolution. As I said, we have more and more money, we have more and more possibilities, and you will see that social inclusion is one key topic which we can finance under the form of 2 categories of projects. Big, let's summarize in saying big projects and small projects targeting also small organizations. I will not develop more, and I will go to the second information I wanted to give you. It's that due to you can change slide, due to the last, let's say, crisis or events this year, at the initiative of the European Parliament, the European Commission has had a specific budget to support, in our jargon, sorry for that, health-enhancing physical activity for refugees. Basically to finance sport activities and physical activity in camps. We have launched a call at the beginning of just before summer, and the results were just published. So 11 projects covering 10 member states will be financed next year by EU funds. The positive things, and I will conclude with this, it's just, as we say in French, it's not a coup d'épée dans l'eau. It's not a 1-year operation, but already due to the success is not the right term. The need we see and the necessity to do more, this budget will be prolonged and extended next year, and I can already announce you that there will be this possibility again next year with more funds, and I'm very happy to answer to questions here or later in the corridor. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one quick question before we move forward. The financial possibilities that you outline, are they also available for non-European countries?
It's a complex question, but I will try to answer quickly. For Erasmus+, yes. For Erasmus+, yes, clearly there is a possibility to finance projects involving external partners. There are a number of different categories of countries, different conditions, and so on. But in the long term, I would say, and you had here today a presentation of Paul Schmidt, who is working for sport diplomacy. Following the recommendation of this group, we will work in the future, in the middle term, I would say, to extend this possibility. For the call, I was mentioning, so the call with the money of the European Parliament, for the moment, the money goes to European organizations. They must be based in our member states, but de facto, the population who is, let's say, benefiting from the project is not, of course, a EU population.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We continue with our third speaker, who is Mr. Mario Pescante, who replaces actually Mr. Sunil Sabharwal, who could not be with us today. Mr. Pescante has been an IOC member since 1994, and as a chair of the IOC Commission for Public Affairs and Social Development through Sport, he had first-hand insight in the IOC's excellent initiative to send a group of refugees to Rio 2016. Before we give you the floor, I know you had a little video to show, so let's show the video first, please.
Since sport unites people and promotes a culture of peace, the IOC partners with UN agencies like UNHCR, UNICEF and the World Food Programme. It brings sport to refugees and vulnerable youth and children through various grassroots sports initiatives around the world. Today, I am happy to announce to this UN General Assembly that the International Olympic Committee will invite the highest qualified refugee athletes to participate in the Olympic Games Rio de Janeiro 2016.
This is a historic moment because I can announce to you the members of the first ever refugee Olympic team. The intention of this refugee Olympic team is to give them a home in the Olympic Village together with all the athletes from around the world. The Olympic anthem will be played in their honor. The Olympic flag will lead them into the Olympic Stadium. And in this way, we are convinced that this refugee Olympic team can send a symbol of hope to all the refugees in the world, and it can send a signal to the international community that refugees are our fellow human beings and are an enrichment to society.
I think that this video is more significant compared to my speech. But however, I would like to illustrate our perspective in the future in this regard, particularly the concrete initiative to put sport at the service of the needy humanity. The premise is this year was a very particular and exceptional year for the Olympic movement. First of all, the Games in Rio. The Games in Rio was watched by more than 3 billion of people, of viewers in the world. And if compared to the rest of the society, we can state that sport may be considered an anchor of stability, and also very important tools to promote the integration. Secondly, this year, 2016, was also an exceptional year in regard to the migration and refugee crisis. Data that have been disclosed by the United Nations recently are very impressive. 65 million refugees around the world, around the globe. But another statistics is very shocking. 250 million migrants there were in the world. One in every 7 of us is a migrant. This this situation created the sixth largest nation in the world. People that are forced to escape, to move from poverty, terrorism, conflict, persecution, and the violation of human rights. With millions of people in displacement, obviously there are a lot of problems because the situation is, as not the president, is an unprecedented situation, and the IOC and the sport movement have taken the stand to play its role. I would explain better. First, with the historical initiative of great symbolic significance, the creation of the refugees Olympic team in Rio, during the Games. This team parade with 11,000 athletes, not as refugees, but like any other Olympic team. During the parade in Olympic Stadium, they were welcomed with a huge applause. This applause rebounded all over in the world, in the five corners of our world. And as I said, 3 billion of viewers assisted and symbolically applauded this fantastic experience. This participation sent a symbolic but strong message of solidarity, but also I think the best word was the word pronounced by the flag bearer of the team, Yusra Nardini, in New York during the summit called by President Obama and Ban Ki-moon about the problem of refugees. She said, we want to change people's perception what a refugee is. The game have ended, but our commitment, the IOC support continue concretely. The IOC has recently announced the creation of a special project for scholarship, a scholarship program reserved to the youth refugees. And we allocated $2 million to help the NOCs which wished to develop some special project. And finally, recently, President Bach announced our willingness to develop an ambitious particular project, so-called Save Places. That means to allow the young refugees to play sport throughout the world in the cities where displaced migrant population is living, or wherever disadvantaged communities are needing it. So it will be possible to promote, as I said, an integration and also social cohesion. In this respect, we can make great progress, but by joining forces, by working all together.
Thank you very much. I think that deserves a big applause for the initiatives that are being explained. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Pescante. I just want to close this panel with a brief insight from Capoeira, who you saw performing on stage already yesterday. Tarek, can you just share with us some thoughts on how Capoeira for refugees is working in the camps?
We have a little video as well. Could we show this?
Yes, let's start with the video first.
Yeah. Thank you very much that yesterday actually came Capoeira, because usually when I try to explain what Capoeira is, I need like 5 minutes just to show what it is. So yesterday you had a little bit of an idea, and you got an idea about the live music, the joy, the music, the song. I think what you don't know, what is also not really came across, is the setting of Capoeira. Capoeira, it's actually not a show, it's about participation. Usually we would create a circle, people clapping, you can feel the energy. Songs of Capoeira are from the slavery times. They're about gender, they're about violence, they're about, name it, there are thousands of songs out there. And personally, what I really appreciate in Capoeira, why I am working for Capoeira for refugees, is Capoeira, there are no winners and there are no losers. If we both now play Capoeira and I make my jumps, it's not a beautiful game. The aim is to play a beautiful game. So in this non-competitiveness is, for me, and of course for the children we work with in the Middle East and beyond, very important values to give. And it is also truly grassroots. There are Capoeira groups all over the world, in 150 countries, in name it, in every conflict zone, in war zones. And so there is Capoeira. And is it not like grassroots what we are trying to support at the end of the day? I wanted to talk a little bit, about the history of Capoeira. It came from African slaves, 16th century and so forth, was used, fight against oppression. It's really relative as well for the work we are doing today in the world we are right now. But also, the topic is about also giving suggestions, and I can probably talk a little bit as well about, I founded an organization in Syria in 2007, and through all the challenges I faced, and maybe suggestions I have for how to move forward, because there's a lot of challenges working, in that sort of context.
Probably you can just give one example, because we're very tight on time. Give an example then how that worked for you. I just want to give an example about project-wise. It's great. It's the highlight of the day. You give a kid an instrument. Next week they play better than you. They have nothing to do. They're like swamps. They need those positive outlets to deal with their anger in a healthy way. But all the reality in terms of admin, in terms of how to get the project there, in terms of we need to compete with huge organizations like Save the Children, NSC, which are amazing. Peter is here as well. I mean, we're working together. But in terms of the grassroots organization are suffering, and
I'm speaking for us and for lots of grassroots organizations, because for us, we have to, keep up with all the administration, with the finance and so forth, as any larger organization as well. And that's a few suggestions as well, because there is this beautiful call for action, what you mentioned before, and I made a few notes, and I know I don't have a lot of time, so I will try to keep it short. There is evidence, the academic research around how much overheads every charity NGO needs to run a project, and it's 30%. The overheads usually get is like 3%, if you're lucky get 7%. This doesn't work. And I think it is the easy thing for a larger organization to give money to large organizations. And because it's easy, you give an organization 20 million, 40 million, whatever, they can digest this. I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do, because this is what we keep on doing and doing and doing. It is not tripling down to the people on the ground we're working with at the end of the day. The administration cost and so forth it's immense, and at the end of the day, there's not a lot of really coming and tripling down to the people we're working with. There's lots of grassroots organizations out there. My pledge is I will donate my birthday. It's a really easy pledge, I think, which is probably achievable if you have no idea yet. So donate your birthday, for example, to a positive cause. Try to lobby that if there are donations to large organizations, if IOC gives, for example, the donation to UNICEF or something, make an obligation that they're giving also 30% overheads to the sub-grantees. Because we're not partners, we are service providers for them. The little organizations are service providers as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the concrete pledge and for sharing some of the insights. Thank you very much. Before we come to a close of this session, I would just like to welcome Rania Albani on stage, who represents the first Arab woman who made it to the finals of the Olympic Games in swimming. So Rania replaces Tekla Leroux, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, and she is a true champion, 3 times Olympian, used her skills a lot in her country to serve in sport management roles and also as a medical doctor. Rania, can you just share some of your insights in how as an athlete you view the issue of migration?
Okay, I wish I was still an athlete, but my last Olympics was in 2000. For me, I just want to share actually the Egyptian experience. We've been through 2 revolutions, and we've felt the insecurity and the fear that some people are facing in other communities. So you don't have to be necessarily a refugee or an IDP to feel the insecurity and the problems around you. So what I'm saying today is that anything can happen in our world that would put any of us in that situation. So while we're at it now, we need to be giving out a hand and helping each other, because we're all at the end seeking the same things: a safe place to stay, a good meal on our table, and a good life. For me, sport, for the refugee camps, I have not worked with refugee camps, which might be my pledge for next year, is that I have to be more involved. But I think in that context, sport is providing a better quality of life. Everyone, when they think about refugees, they think about providing food, providing shelter, providing medication, medical treatment, but not about the human being, how they live a good quality of life and how they are perceived to be an active part of the community. So a good example of this would be also Egypt, ironically, because we had a lot of trouble lately, but still we were able to accommodate 5 million Syrians, and they're not refugees. They are living among us. They go to our schools. They participate in everything. Some of them are even in the highest positions in banks and in companies. So they're not refugees, but they're still outside their home, and they still feel that they're not a concrete part of society, even though they are integrated. There are 2 spectrums, the integrated population that we have, and also the other refugee camps. And I think sport would be able to provide the middle part, where you have communities that are actively participating and actively sharing within the community, but without putting an extra burden on the societies they are related to. So that's my 2 cents worth of thought.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And I think it sums up very well how I would like to close this panel session, that integration is broader than just the refugee issues, and different organizations, different size, have different challenges. And I think finally, if we talk about smaller action, whether it's donating your birthday or work with specific athletes, they do make a difference. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you to the panel. And I would like to hand it back to Mark for some questions, probably from the app, if we do have time for that.
Well, the problem is that we're running out of time. But I would love to maybe take one question from the app, if we have one. Can we have it quick, please? I'm sorry. C'est parti. It's on. It will come from the app. One question: how to find a balance in this world of extreme right and exclusive governments on the mute needed humanitarian effort? Who wants to answer to that question?
Is it possible from the governmental perspective?
Yes, maybe.
Could you quickly give your insights then?
Monsieur le Rostec, une réponse. It's uneasy. C'est pas simple, c'est vrai. Pas très inspiré par cette question. Mario, maybe. You have a mic there. Mario, in a short.
We get a response from the
Yes,
the field, I think, from the reality.
It's not my field at all, but I think what is really important is to go out and to try to find people who have the X factor and not the people who are able to apply with lots of paperwork and filling out log frames and so forth. Because the people who are really good with children, you don't want to put them in front of a computer. And I think a call for the government is actively going out to organizations, looking what is out there and not expecting them to come to you.
Yeah, that's a good answer. We have another one. Second one may be easier to answer. Let's see that second question from the app. What specific impact indicators can be measured in refugees and sport interventions? That's a good one. Who wants to get this one? Still not inspired? Use the microphone, jump on it. I mean, keep on, yeah.
Maybe, yes, on this I will not escape twice, so just one very general comment, which will not be satisfactory for the person who asked the question, but this is a challenge we have in all our policies in sport, social inclusion, good governance, match fixing, and so on. What is the real impact of our policies? We can find specific indicators such as the number of people reached or the number of member states reach or the number of activities organized, but so these are objective figures. Are them the right one to measure the real impact of an action? I'm not sure. It's really difficult in this field to measure them. So let's consider that we are part of a more general effort with the governments, with the sport organizations to defend or to promote good causes and good ideas, and that's what I can say. So.
Thank you. No one wants to react on top of that? Okay, fine. So maybe we take the last one. Take the last one, even from the app. We still have one. I'm sorry, we'll be short on that. More recently, there are numerous young academics and researchers graduating from peace building programs. Where can they go to find dignified jobs for supporting refugees, acceptance and integration? Where to go?
Yeah, if I may, from an academic institute, the short answer to this, I think, is that it's great that there are programs focusing specifically on sport for peace building, that you get people really skilled in this. It is, however, a session that's also driving on a lot of volunteering organizations, NGOs, so jobs, paid jobs, where people often are looking for, is a very difficult thing. Volunteering work, no problem. I think you can start working here immediately. That's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to say, that I think it's important for the academic initiatives to not be too much isolated on peace and sport initiatives, but to also for these academics to understand the bigger spectrum of management, legal sides, government, etc. So.
Interesting. Mario? Yes. You have a mic, yeah.
I think it's not this the stage to be too clear, because the problem concerning the refugees, concerning the migration, is a global problem. And there is in the world the unity about the evaluated this phenomenon. I can speak about Europe, for instance. To this regard, we have the personality who know well than me the situation, but we didn't succeed to find a common policy. I don't want to speak about my country, but at this moment, the border of the West countries, European countries, is closed, totally closed. The border on the left, not closed, but practically are closed. Remain just a beach, enormous beach is my country, Italy, 3,000 coast. And there is one particular mentality, because my population invaded at the start of the 19th and 20th century all the world, Australia, Canada, and we have this feeling in favor. But if my country remain alone, will be very delicate, the situation, also the political situation. Because at this moment in Italy, the internal politics, and with the consequent result in the next election, in the next referendum, is very serious. Because people speak to the stomach. Of the politicians speak to the stomach. They receive favor, they receive vote, and the situation that we don't have a common policy in Italy. You can imagine around the world.
It's uneasy. Yeah. Shall we take one question, please? But make it short. Sorry, just one.
Hello, I'll be very short. I am Dora Pallas from the International Olympic Tourist Centre. And our aim, we were created in order to bring peace during the Olympic Games. The idea is to stop the war during the Olympic Games. It was actually the largest peace accord in ancient history. And I've heard what everyone is doing for refugees, which is really extremely interesting. We have projects with refugees. We're even nominated for a prize here. But my question is, how can we actually prevent having this speech today? Is what my organization says to stop the war, at least during the Olympic Games, is it utopian? Can it happen? What do you think about that?
Mario? Sorry, because we're talking about the Olympics today.
Sorry, but I would like to avoid to intervene in politics. I am here to demonstrate...
But this was the spirit. This was the spirit of it, huh?
What can I say? That sport, in this case, can help building bridge. It's not enough. Because the bridge pass over some country, over some situation. But they pass that one country, another country. We pass over the barriers, material barriers at this moment. And the sport build bridge. Other countries build barriers. The problem is serious, but it's a political problem.
I think it's important to also hear from Ranja's point of view, because I think athletes can play a crucial role in here as well.
That's true.
Definitely, yes. And we have two sides here to that. We have the Olympic athletes and the IOC itself. I can now speak and relieve you because I'm no longer an IOC member, so I can speak on the political side. And then there's the sides of the countries in conflict that are actually going through the war. So I think the question here, the solution is no longer within the Olympic movement, because they are advocating for ceasing war during the Olympic Games. We're doing our part. The part that should be active, more active, is the part of the conflicts and the governments, where they have to respect that athletes of the world, they want peace for everyone.
Do you think an athlete from a country who is in conflict has enough power to maybe have a voice that's...
No, they don't have enough power, but they can be advocates so that more are motivated to promote that power.
And be helping.
Thank you.
Sorry, but we are running out of time. Gert, you have to make a quick conclusion. Yes.
No, I think the conclusion was made before that it's a global issue that needs a local approach, and there's all the stakeholders that need to find each other's the overlap and not just look at the differences. So I think, having said that, I would just like to ask for another round of applause for our panels. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Just ask you to join the room back, because we, as I said, we're running out of time, and we'd like to conclude. We'll make the conclusion in a row, just following. But before we say thank you to our panelists, we just collected a lot of messages from one word. This word, we love it. This word we want to share. This word we want to defend. It's peace, la paix. La paix, qu'est-ce que ça représente? Je vais laisser nos amis, il faut qu'on libère très très vite. Je vais laisser nos amis de la technique, voilà, j'aurai une petite photo avec eux. And we will have this. Merci beaucoup, thank you. Merci à vous. Et je vais laisser la technique, donc technique will take the lead now in the decorum behind the sets. What we received messages as peace. Look at this, regardez. Ça va s'animer, it will be animation. Here are the words. We have to know a lot of things, but this is a little summary of what we heard during that forum, that 9th forum. It was a success. It was a success because of you, and it's not over. It's my pleasure and an honor to welcome the president of the World Federation of Taekwondo. He's here with us. It's Mr. Xu, who will address to you to have a word of conclusion. Please, President, thank you very much for joining us for a conclusion of this forum. The floor is yours.
Well, good morning again, and my special thanks goes to President Joel Bujo. You had a very successful and wonderful this international forum. And because of my plane departure, I'll try to make a very short speech about what we have been doing for the refugee camps and what is our actual plan to aim for the future sports organization. It goes back to 2008, after the successful Beijing Olympic Games. I was trying to think about the creation of Sports Peace Corps. You know, as you know, that the Peace Corps started from United States during the President Kennedy. And why don't we create a Sports Peace Corps together with the United Nations and International Olympic Committee? Then we can send our teams, Olympic sports teams, to many needed countries to support young children, give them hope and dream through sports. And also, of course, to teach them how to live as a good citizen, and to teach them the importance of world peace and the Olympism. So I've been discussing with this subject together with the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and at that time was the President Jacques Roque. But until now, it isn't realized. That's why the World Taekwondo Federation created the Taekwondo Peace Corps as a pioneer project. And until now, we dispatch 100 different countries and 1,300 instructors to send every needed and wanted area. It was very successful throughout the world to send a Sports Peace Corps. And after that, the last year of the successful London Olympic Games and also our World Championships, in Chelyabinsk, Russia, we also discussed about the creation of Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation. Actually, if it can be realized together with UN and IOC, creating a sports humanitarian project. So many international federations, they are devoting to support the young children in refugee camps to teach their sports. So if we are working together, it's much costless. Some months ago, I had a talk with Mariusz Vija, the International Judo Federation. They are also building a small gymnasium in refugee camps. If we work together, well, we can teach judo and taekwondo. Of course, many other sports can share their project if they are working together. I think that is very important for the future. So I was really happy to sign with the Peace and Sports together with MOU for the future cooperation of supporting the refugee camps and doing something. I believe that from now on, we'll do more, much more, and we'll do much better job for supporting a needed area and refugee camp. And I was influenced by my late father. My father was Dr. Yang-Sik Cho, who was the initiator of the creation of International Day of Peace, 1981. I met this international forum, one of the dean of Peace University in Costa Rica. That was the occasion that in 1981, San Jose, Costa Rica invited International Association of University President Conference. So during that occasion, my father initiated and present his idea to all the president of universities in the world, and they unanimously agreed to the project to the United Nations. But unfortunately, in 1981, South Korea was not a member of United Nations. So we had to talk with the President of the Republic of Costa Rica, and Rodrigo Carazo, he really agreed our proposals. So he was the person actually in legal procedure through his ambassador to United Nations, the PISA. So that was the starting point in 35 years ago, the International Day of Peace, born under the leadership of United Nations. And after that, we've been celebrating many, many times every year, celebrating International Day of Peace. I was very lucky to be invited by the United Nations in New York. So I brought our Taekwondo demonstration teams to go there and have made a short speech about the creation of Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation. So what we did was last April, we found the Taekwondo Humanitarian Foundation in Lausanne, Switzerland. Of course, it's a non-profit international foundation, and we are doing for refugee camps. So starting from Nepal, the earthquake region support, we are doing in the Syrian refugee camps in Turkey and Jordan. And we are about to finish the Taekwondo Academy in Azra camp in Jordan this coming beginning of March. So this kind of activities, I think we are doing alone at the moment. Many other international federations doing themselves. But if we work together, it's much costless. We can do a lot more and a lot better. So that's my future call and idea. And also we had a talk with the UNHCR and also IOC, the refugee project. And from next year, we'll send our teams to some African countries, for instance, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Djibouti. Those are the next our targets. So maybe we'll discuss with the Peace and Sports Organization, and we can do more and many things. My father used to say to me, peace is always more precious than triumph. So when we have a peace, then to conquer another country, have a triumph, it's not worse than peaceful peace. So peace is more precious than triumph. That's my last word for you, and I hope our World Taekwondo Federation will do more after awarding prestigious award, the Federation of the Year. So we'll do much more and much better than together with the Peace and Sports Organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You all received podometers. You remember you had to walk. We had this is also to bring for sure some money for the organization, and we have a result. I don't know it. We just received it, so we'll see it together live. It will be now on the screen. So let's bring the result for the podometers, and it's behind me. Sorry. So these are the steps that you've made. Wow, 7,798,641. Thank you very much. You've been working pretty well. I mean, I can see. You can applaud. This is a good success. And I remind you, like Gerd said, the paper, the yellow paper. So please use it and put it on the tree before you go. Okay, don't miss it. Thank you very much. And now the last moment, the conclusion. It's a pleasure to welcome the president and founder of Peace and Sport, Joël Bouzou.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres, Messieurs les ambassadeurs de Peace and Sport, chers prix Nobel de la paix, chers partenaires de Peace and Sport, chers champions de la paix, Mesdames et Messieurs, chers amis. Au moment de clôturer cette 9e édition du Forum international Peace and Sport, je tiens à vous remercier tous, participants, panélistes et partenaires, pour votre assiduité et votre implication dans les débats qui ont été dans la belle tradition des forums précédents et qui illustrent ce à quoi nous tenons le plus, être une plateforme internationale d'opinion et d'action où la parole est libre et où nous sommes dans le concret. Game On for Peace, c'était le titre de notre forum et une invitation à être acteur à part entière pour chacun d'entre vous. Et pour chacun d'entre vous, le pari a été réussi. Je voudrais remercier tout spécialement et témoigner ma reconnaissance à Son Altesse Sérénissime le Prince Albert II de Monaco, dont je sais l'agenda très chargé et qui, par sa présence, a manifesté son soutien permanent à la démarche de paix par le sport. La marche pour la paix qu'il a dirigée mercredi dans le cadre neutre et indépendant de la Principauté restera sans doute comme un temps fort de ce forum. Puisque j'évoque les temps forts de ces 3 jours, permettez-moi de distinguer particulièrement quelques témoignages marquants. Celui d'abord riche de sens, d'élévation et de pensée de nos 3 prix Nobel de la paix, membres du quartet du dialogue national tunisien. Ils ont su nous montrer à quel point l'ouverture aux autres et l'esprit d'unité et de tolérance permet de tenir contre les violences, les extrémismes, et ils sont plus que jamais des exemples pour nous. Notre fierté d'avoir accueilli pour la première fois les prix Nobel de la paix se double de la satisfaction de savoir que nous allons travailler en 2017 avec le sommet des prix Nobel de la paix. C'est une étape très importante pour notre organisation, une véritable reconnaissance de Peace and Sport comme acteur de la paix dans le monde. Autre fait marquant, hier, ce joli moment de diplomatie par le sport, hier après-midi. Et ici même, au cours duquel nous avons vu s'affronter dans un combat amical de taekwondo 2 athlètes issus de 2 nations actuellement en désaccord, la Russie et l'Ukraine. Mais ceci, sous les yeux de Marc Attali, ministre plénipotentiaire auprès de l'ambassade d'Israël, et du docteur Manuel Assassian, ambassadeur de Palestine à Londres, assis côte à côte, qui se sont serrés la main devant tout le monde à l'issue de cette épreuve. C'est bien sûr une nouvelle preuve que le sport est un vecteur de rapprochement entre les peuples. Permettez-moi de citer M. Assassian à ce sujet. Là où les armes ont échoué, le sport peut réussir. Je pense que ça peut laisser méditer. Et j'ai particulièrement apprécié l'appel commun de ces 2 personnalités pour organiser dans l'avenir de futures compétitions opposant des représentants des 2 camps, où chacun peut se regarder au même niveau, avec la même conviction et le même idéal. Je parlais mercredi dernier de cette dynamique citoyenne de la paix qui émane de tous les acteurs de la société en face de l'accumulation des périls et qu'il nous faut accélérer. J'ai de ce point de vue été frappé au cours de ce forum, et peut-être encore plus que les années précédentes, par la multitude et la variété des projets présentés, qu'ils émanent de fédérations, de champions, d'ONG locales, et ce, dans les endroits les plus divers et les plus reculés. Je vous avais dit que le mot d'ordre, notre mot d'ordre, devait être dorénavant la démonstration par la preuve. Eh bien, vous nous avez apporté, tout au long de ces 2 jours, et en particulier hier soir, de nouveaux arguments très convaincants qui montrent que le sport au service de la paix, ça marche. Au-delà de la satisfaction du constat, oui, il y a une vraie montée en puissance du mouvement de la paix par le sport. Je prends aussi la mesure de la responsabilité que cela entraîne pour nous et des engagements qu'il nous faut et qu'il nous faudra tenir pour répondre à la demande et pour accompagner cette dynamique. Ainsi, nous devons sans attendre nous organiser, comme certains d'entre vous ont déjà commencé à le faire, pour continuer et pour constituer une véritable plateforme opérationnelle. Une plateforme d'information sur les bonnes pratiques qui sont observées, sur les projets recensés et sur les résultats obtenus, afin d'en faire profiter tous les acteurs du réseau de la paix par le sport, afin de dupliquer ces bonnes actions. De même, il nous revient d'aider les champions de la paix à s'organiser encore davantage entre eux pour qu'ils soient encore plus efficaces, comme le fer de lance de nos actions. Vous les avez vus maintes fois participer à toutes les sessions, avec beaucoup d'engagement, pragmatique, et je leur rends à nouveau hommage. Nous avons eu avec eux une excellente séance de travail mercredi matin pour préparer les grands objectifs de l'année 2017, qui sont absolument ambitieux. Je suis témoin qu'aujourd'hui, leur groupe, je dirais même leur club, tant ils ont plaisir à se retrouver ou à se découvrir, est vraiment un atout inestimable pour Peace and Sport. Et je m'engage à leur égard, puisqu'ils souhaitent partager plus d'informations entre eux, à leur apporter les moyens nécessaires pour fonctionner encore plus en réseau. Nous avons cité chacun d'entre eux lors de la cérémonie d'ouverture. Permettez-moi maintenant de citer celles et ceux qui nous ont rejoints récemment et pour qui c'était le premier forum. Certains nous ont raconté leur parcours, leurs difficultés pour percer. Et ces témoignages émouvants vont rester dans nos mémoires. N'est-ce pas Ménida, Maria, Jean-Baptiste, Aya, Jean-Baptiste Alaise, athlétisme, France, Pascal Gentil, médaille olympique taekwondo, France, Habiba Gribi, championne olympique athlétisme, Tunisie, Marlène Arnois, olympique médailliste, taekwondo, France, Aya Medani, olympienne, moderne pentathlon, Égypte, Benida Nouria Mera, championne olympique d'athlétisme Algérie. Angel David Rodriguez, athlétisme, Espagne. Maria Torpaki, squash, Pakistan. À ces noms, il convient d'ajouter ceux de Muriel Hertis, championne du monde d'athlétisme, France, et de Felipe Massa, vice-champion du monde de Formule 1 du Brésil. Vous pouvez les applaudir. Et leur souhaiter, comme moi, la bienvenue dans la famille Peace and Sport. Parce qu'avec l'aide de tous ces champions, avec l'expérience acquise par notre organisation dans les différentes parties du monde, et grâce au partenariat que nous avons bâti depuis 2007 avec de nouveaux acteurs sportifs locaux ou internationaux et les plus grandes organisations internationales, nous pouvons absolument, nous devons même être plus ambitieux. And our focus always remains the same, providing proof of evidence, keeping the same objective, which is to change lives. In this spirit, Field Action will develop Act for Matters, our new call for projects, introduced for the first time this year in design to collect ideas and projects that support the vision and strategy of your actions and of our actions on the ground. The 9 chosen of 46 applications will result in a 3-year partnership, the first ever. The first year also, we will send experts and equipment, and then financial support in years 2 and 3 to these organizers. The Peace and Sport workshops that we presented aroused significant interest. They are based on the originality of mixing education with the values of sport, the practice of sport, and social professional integration. Furthermore, we have seen through your continuous testimonies that the great variety of cases identified in Central and South America, in Africa, and in Asia found the same ingredients that are crucial to success. An education, an educational vision of sport, beneficiaries that are accessible and in great need, educators trained in these practices, and lastly, a proven methodology. Following from the first successful experiences and with the help of our Champions for Peace, we will expand these workshops to reach different targets. For example, youth under judicial supervision, governed by the French Juvenile Protection Service, as we presented during the workshop and the press conference, represented here at this forum. These workshops will also be tested to help integrate other sectors of the population, such as kids from refugee camps. I am delighted that Sport Simple got your approval. This concept means that sport can be organized anywhere, because all it requires is creativity and rudimentary resources. As I told you Wednesday, Sport Simple is about modifying the rules of sport so that they fit to any local conditions. Sport Simple is about capitalizing on best practices and educating educators to use this new build-up knowledge to reach a global population. Because it works, it has to be developed, and because it is cheap, it can become global. We will further pursue this path in 2017, using all possible synergies, particularly with the help of ever-increasing number of international federations. We signed 4 new partnerships agreements yesterday. We will follow the example of what has already been done with volleyball, taekwondo, table tennis federations. To give these initiatives the attention they deserve, next year we will add an award for the most original sport's simple solution. We will devote more resources to the Peace Through Sport community, and in particular develop I Move for Peace concept, a program to mobilize fans of champions via social media to raise funds for specific projects. We are also considering a Peace and Sport membership program to increase involvement and sustainability. To expand our Champions for Peace program, we would like to better coordinate their action with Olympians, who also constitute a very high-quality network, ready to actively get involved. For a dynamic of this nature, a far-reaching communication campaign is essential. I can already give you an appointment for next April 6th, the UN the International Day on Sport for Development and Peace. We can together achieve a record number of projects and committed participants using the platform april6.org, and at the same time, we can give more scope to our #Wildcard campaign to reach a record number of followers. Remember, 28 million since 2013, and how many to come? To give more impact to this day, we are planning to organize an extraordinary match with our friends from Football for Peace. This match should and will take place in Paris, at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, with teams composed of great football champions and anonymous players from the populations in difficulty, with the support of the city of Paris and the support of the City of London. We will also create a sports film festival. This forum has been a great forum, opening new horizons and consolidating our institutional partnerships. In this respect, I would like to thank the Council of Europe and UNESCO for their help in organizing official meetings of great interest during our forum. Next year, we will celebrate 10 years of peace and sport, and we will meet for a 10th forum in Monaco. Please note the date in your agenda, 6, 7, and 8 of December 2017. This will be an opportunity to measure how far we have come. And I hope that actions I have cited as examples will inspire you to make further progress before them. Before closing this forum, let's all of us have a last thought for Guo Xuan, our champion for peace, our friend. I told you on Wednesday that we would go on carrying, as he did, the light for peace. After having talked to our champions for peace, I have the honor to announce that we have decided, starting from the next forum, to present an annual award, hearing his name, which will be the exclusive choice of the Champions for Peace Club. It will be their coup de cœur. This will be the best way of making our friend to live on in our memories and to pay him a legitimate and long-lasting tribute. Thank you all for your participation and for your commitment. See you next year for the 10th Forum in Monaco.
Merci Joël, merci. Je vais vous garder avec moi, Président. Je vous garde là. On va enlever les chaises. I keep the President here with us. The President who is the first of the champions for peace. Just remind you for the young ones that he was world champion of modern pentathlon in 1987 and bronze medalist at the Olympic Games. That means another applause for the President. Thank you. So the last picture, because also Joël wanted to thank all his team. So we have all the volunteers to come with us here for a last picture. And the last good news, Joël, is the 7 million steps and over than that you made will bring before, thank you to Azerbaijan European, thank you very much for this, 20,000 euros for peace and sport, 20,000 euros that will be collected because of your step. This is another great, great moment that we got here today. So please, all the volunteers, tous les volontaires, toute l'organisation, all the organization from Peace and Sport. And you will see the people who are in the shadow, who are welcoming you since the beginning of that forum. The 9th forum is now over. This will be the last picture. Ça sera la dernière photo, ici avec le président. Et je vais demander à toute l'organisation, les organisateurs, all the organizers, everyone. I wanted also to thank the translators. Great jobs. Parfait. It's never easy with me because I switch from one language to another. Merci beaucoup. Il faut un travail considérable. Merci à vous. Thank you very much. Here are the volunteers. Voici les volontaires. Donc, les bénévoles qui ont travaillé et toute l'organisation. And all the organizers. Get closer. Get closer. Squeeze on 3 rows. More. Squeeze. Exactly. Squeeze. Right. We need more space. And Joel will be in the middle. We'll be on the side. Charmaine, join me. There she is. On some side here. People that have been working during this week, thanks to the technique. They cannot come because they're still working. Merci à la technique. Ils peuvent pas venir, mais ils continuent de travailler. Viens, Habiba. Merci. Thank you. This ends the forum. See you next year. Have a wonderful year. Excellente année. À l'année prochaine. See you. Bye bye. Merci à tous. Thank you. Spasiba. Kamsahamnida. Domo arigato. Shukran. And we see you. This afternoon, for those who are staying, we have the speed film of the Palestinian girls. So be here with us at 2 p.m.